budget's very estimated. So we set a budget is required to be set by June for the next school year, but we don't know what our revenues are until we set the tax levy, usually in August or September. So that's why we do a lot of different budget updates. But our tax levy is our local revenue. So we get our revenue from local, state, and federal, and the tax levy, and a little bit of county. And the tax levy is how we get those local funds. So this year, when we are looking and comparing, it shows comparison from 2023 last year to this year, 2023-24. Our overall assessed evaluation among the three counties for personal, agricultural, commercial, and real estate is $241,388,200. So when we look at that compared to last year was $191 million. So we have seen a $50 million increase in those assessed evaluations for our school district, which again is those three counties. When we go down and look at our tax rate, we have to understand and realize that there's a Hancock Amendment that puts in place that only allows school districts to increase their tax levy a certain percent each year, and other than that, you have to roll back to stay under that threshold. So because of the increase of assessed evaluations, we will be rolling back this year. There's laws that put in a threshold of a ceiling and a floor, so that you can kind of estimate between that ceiling and floor. And a ceiling obviously is we could never go above that without a voter approval. A floor is obviously we can't go below that because we have to be able to maintain some sort of way to budget and estimate. We are almost at that floor this year. The difference in assessed evaluation and what we have to roll back because of Hancock Amendment, we are close to that floor for this year. The positive part of that is then next year won't be a reassessment year, that we'll be able to recoup some of that increase back to the levy that we've been at in the last several years. So for this year, what we're proposing for our tax levy is we have 4 funds that we can levy: incidental, teacher, debt service, and capital projects. Our incidental, we are levying $2.7206. Our teachers, we don't levy any dollar in our teacher fund. Our debt service fund it's been set for several years because that's how we estimate how we're going to pay off any leases or any of our long-term bonding projects that we do. Our debt service levy is $1.8670. And then I'm recommending again to do 10 cents in capital project. So we did that last year. We put 10 cents in capital project, and that is just coming away from our incidental. That's not an additional. So if we didn't put that 10 cents in capital project, we would do $2.82 in the Fund 1. But we had that discussion last year. It helps us in that long-term facility planning and continual maintenance that we need to do for facility projects to have that additional revenue come in specifically to our capital projects so that we can budget that money as well. So our total tax levy for this year is recommending $4.6876. Last year it was $5.1582. So the revenue that we're expecting to generate off of that is $11,315,313. Last year it was $9.8 million. A couple things to realize and recognize is if we want to increase our incidental ever, it would be a voter to the vote of our patrons. If we ever wanted to transfer money from our set debt service to our incidental, we can do that at a no tax increase to our patrons, but it would require a patron vote to switch those tax levies. So it's just good information to know that we have. In our CSIP, we had discussed the possibility of needing to go to the community for a tax levy increase this year. Obviously, we don't want to do that to our community this year with all the assessed evaluations increases, but also with the additional revenue that we're seeing here, since we're near our floor, the additional revenue we'll see next year, we aren't at that need right now. And also in discussions, the fact that another layer and possibility of getting additional revenue that we may need, and if we get to a point that we need it, we could go to the voters and just ask for us to be able to transfer some of our debt service levy to our incidental. Incidental is where we can spend more freely. Debt service is just to pay off those bonds and those debts. So there's a couple of different options that we have in order to get more revenue before needing to ever go to the voters. So that's positive. I definitely feel it's a positive for us. So new construction, I skipped over that. New construction for this year was evaluated at $5.5 million. Last year was at 6.6, so we saw a little bit less of new construction assessed evaluation this year. Overall, an 11.7% increase from the reassessment is what we're seeing for our school district. And then it's important to note too that this is us setting based off of the information we have right now. There's still lots of appeals to go through with Jackson County, which could lower our overall assessed evaluation. We're still fine in the sense that we're looking at seeing an increase this year of right about $400,000 additional revenue due to the assessed evaluation increase. So as those appeals come in, if that assessed evaluation goes down, it's still not cutting into our current budget of what revenue that we budgeted for. So, any questions?
I think it's just important to our public that they know that we have significantly reduced our levy, because I know this you can't describe this Jackson County assessment piece. It's beyond words. So we are doing everything we're supposed to do and significantly lowering our levy, which would be a great benefit to our community and especially in the tax realm.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion and a second to set the 2023 operating tax rate at 2.7206, capital projects at 10 cents, and the debt services rate at 1.867 for a total tax rate of 4.6876.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jeff. I have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor? That's everyone. That concludes the tax rate hearing. I'll take a motion and a second for adjournment.
I'll second that also.
Is that Jeff?
Yeah.
Motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor? That's everyone. Okay. Just about a minute, we'll go in open session. Thank you.
Get to sign the right. So this is for Jackson County.
Okay.
Just sign it. Yep.
That's okay.
Where do I sign it? Yep. This is quick. Yep. Yeah.
Thank you. Would you join me in prayer, please? Father God in heaven, we thank you for your amazing love for us. We thank you for the community you have placed us in. I thank you for our school district. for all the administrators, the school board, the teachers, the custodians, the cooks, everybody that makes it a good place for students to come, to learn, to grow, and to be loved. I just pray your blessings on this meeting tonight, that God, you would help them make decisions that are good for our community and good for our kids, and that you continue to bless them as they guide us forward. We ask in Christ's name, amen.
Amen. And thank you for all you do for our district.
Yes, appreciate it. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 7:04. Christie, would you like to do roll call?
Keith Moyer,
Here.
Jim Schlichting,
Here.
Randy McLean,
Here.
Jeff Jennings,
Here.
Jason Brown,
Here.
and Terry Vincent. Here.
Okay, we have a forum. Everybody would rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Jim.
Second.
Thank you, Jason. I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor? That's everyone. And I'll turn it over to Mindy for some recognition.
Thanks. Ms. Alden, you can come on up. Are these beautiful? They're for you. Thank you. You're welcome. So those that haven't got to meet, this is Tammy Altman, our new social worker. And I'm going to read some of this so that I can make sure I capture it all. I know. I said, will you come to the board meeting? Yes, I guess. So, all right. Social workers are highly qualified and offer a comprehensive approach not only to address social and emotional needs of students, but the entire school and community. Social workers assist administrators and school personnel by sharing their knowledge and training and emphasizing the importance of providing whole child, which includes academics, social, emotional, and behavioral functioning. The State School Social Worker Association cited the exemplary work of Tammy and has selected her as the 2023 School Social Worker of the Year. We got it. But there's more. We're not done. This award is presented to one school social worker from each state whose work in schools and communities exemplify the highest quality of work for social work. Tammy's passion, dedication, and professional expertise are a few of the reasons why she was chosen by her colleagues. She will be recognized at the Midwest School Social Work Council Recognition Ceremony held in Iowa this Thursday, October 5th. So she'll get recognized by all of her colleagues. So my understanding is the whole region, but they picked one person from each state, and in Northern Missouri's State Social Worker of the Year. Yes.
What is that, right?
So, and she's going. She said, I have to miss work for a couple of days. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm being recognized with this honor. Yes, you need to miss work a couple of days. So Tammy's brand new to us. She's still getting her feet. They're wet, but she's getting them figured out and trying to figure out the best way. And she and I have brainstormed several things on how we can get more resources in for our students. But she's a great asset to have. She's done a lot for some in our alt school, helping work with students in there. Tammy has lots of experience in school settings, and we're just excited to have her. And the fact that she got to recognize this, they all see what we see, and that's why we wanted to grab her. So, really? Welcome to the school district, State Social Worker of the Year. So we're excited for you. Enjoy your conference and enjoy the honor. So thank you.
Wow. That's impressive.
That's a great institute.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda. To approve the consent agenda, sorry.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll second.
Thank you, Terry. A motion and a second. All in favor? Is everyone? Now we have some action items.
We do.
Starting with the approval of, I'll let you say that.
Defeasement.
There you go.
Defeasement. So I'm bringing you just some information on paying off bonds. We talked about our debt service, and our debt service is set as $1.86 to pay down aggressively our bonds. This is our loans that we got voter approval to do facility projects. So we are in a position where we have the funds, because we set aside $1.86. We have the funds to prepay off some bonds. So when we do a bond, approve a bond, we're given a schedule of what those payments will be each year, and how long that we have those payments, interest accrued and all of that. If we approve this proposal tonight, will pay off up to $3.9 million. And the reason that says up to is we have a big payment due in March, and if we pay this off early, we'll save a ton of money, $2.1 million in interest. But the reason it says up to $3.9 million is because we're still waiting on the finalization of assessed evaluations. So the amount of bonds we owe, how much we pay into bonds, all of that has to do with your assessed evaluation. It all plays into it. So until that is finalized in December, it could be a little less than that, but it could be more. So we want to go ahead and approve it for the max, which would be the $3.9 million. This is our Series 2020 bonds from the 2020 bond issue. So paying off $3.9 million by March will save us an estimated $2.1 million in interest, which then also puts us in a position to where our bonding capacity is lowered. So the paying down makes our bonding capacity higher and puts us in a position to be able to run a no-tax bond this spring for $25 million of bonding projects. So we'll determine if we want to do that at a later date. We're still working to try to figure out what are those needs. Mr. Huffington wants to put together a committee to look at that, survey our patrons, and make sure that we are doing the facility projects that we need to and that are necessary. We still have the list from last time of items that we surveyed and what we didn't get finished. So we obviously, as a district, we have some priority, but we would definitely want some community input. Doing this not only saves money, but it also puts us in that position to go ahead and move forward with more facility projects if we feel that that's the need. Any questions?
Fantastic. Okay, I'll entertain a motion and a second for the approval of the defeasance and payment of Series 2020 bonds.
Yep.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Jason? Awesome. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Everyone? We have the approval of the revised budget and summary letter.
Correct. So as mentioned earlier, we do our budget, we approve it in January. Nope, what month is that? June. We approve it in June, and during that process, we put together the budget letter that kind of estimates the year end. And again, we're estimating the year end because we're doing it in June before the year end has actually occurred. So when we met with the auditors today, he had some requests that we go back and we didn't meet with them today. Last week, auditors were in, and they made recommendations that we go back and update the budget letter. So on page, you can get there. There it is, so again, here we go. On page 6, we've kind of updated that page 7. We've updated what those beginning fund balances are, what those ending fund balances are, to be exact, now that the year has ended. We also didn't normally include the transfers. So usually every year, at some point in the year, we have to transfer money into teacher fund. We don't levy money into teacher fund, and we never get enough revenue in from the state to pay for to teachers. So we always end up transferring from Fund 1 to 2. This budget letter didn't reflect that. So as a year end and we're updating it, we wanted to make sure that we reflected what we anticipate that transfer to be this year. So we did that. And then also the auditors recommended when we get into the spreadsheets, our revenues were fine, but when we got to our expenditures, they wanted function code and object code, and we only had object code. So they asked us to put in all the function codes to divide that up. So that's what this is. Adds that in there. Doesn't change anything. Our budget doesn't change anything financially for the budget. It's just adding more information to the year end from last year.
Just get posted on our website.
Yep, this is on our website. Yep.
Any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion and a second for approval of the revised budget and summary letter.
Motion.
Second. Thank you, Jason. Forgive me. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Is everyone? Next item on the agenda is discussion and potential approval for the board vacancy. So, we had, I think I mentioned in the last meeting, we had 5 people that by the close date expressed their interest. I mentioned those names last time, I apologize. decided last time to give them a questionnaire, 6 questions, and have them respond back. Of those 4 responded by Friday. Like last Friday, sorry, not this last Friday, but the Friday before. I shared those all with the board, I think, on Monday. So you guys have all had a chance to look at those for a week and decide. And we've got a couple options, obviously. We have a nomination, a second, and a vote. The next option on the table would be to actually hold interviews. That would require either an extra meeting or do it at the next board meeting, invite each person in, formulate a set of questions, and interview in an open session. So those are, I think, our options at this point. So,
I will say, I was very impressed by all of the written responses. They were great answers. You could tell they were very sincere, heartfelt, well thought out. They each brought something to the table. I think all of them would be great board members, and I hope they all decide to run whenever that opportunity arises for them. In my opinion, I think with I'm leaning toward Tamara Kirk because of her previous experience. The election was really, really close. Actually, she won the votes in Jackson County, and there was an 8-vote swing that she didn't win in Lafayette County. She was part of the employment of our superintendent, which I think was awesome, and part of a difficult transition from a previous administration. And she has had children in the district, I think she brings the experience to the table, especially since it's like 6 months. And that's my thought on why I would recommend Tamara for the position.
I agree, just because, I mean, I think, like you said, the answers were all really, really good by all the candidates that applied. But then going into an interview process, I think you're pushing it farther down, and so by not doing something tonight, and then not having an interview, and then doing more, it just shortens that time, and there's not a lot of onboarding for that new person to come on if they are new to the board, with the election being in April. So I'm agreeing with you. I think we'd make the motion too.
are you making the motion?
Yep, I'll make the motion to appoint Tamara Kirk. Sorry.
A motion to appoint Tamara Kirk. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Questions, comments? Okay. I have a motion and a second to appoint Tamara Kirk to fill the board vacancy through the next election, which is 6 months, starting swearing next month, if this passes. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor of Tamara Kirk for the board vacancy? That's it.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I will say, I agree with Randy. I'm always, unfortunately, we've been through this twice in the last
Let's not do this again.
2 years.
Nobody's
Everybody,
down.
everybody, come on.
It's-
We're not doing this again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is tough because
Yeah.
you get people and you do ask them to spend a little time to do things, and I'll let everybody know that didn't, and I'll let Tamara know, obviously, after the board meeting tonight. So I do appreciate the people that did.
Yeah,
Take the
and
time
they were-
show the interest.
Yeah, it's nice to see there's people that care to have interest and stuff. and,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any
That's great.
doubt that we have a great community with a lot of people who really care,
Yeah.
and so it's good to see that kind of.
And thank you, Keith, for reaching out to them and making contacts and putting all that information together. I appreciate it.
Okay, move on to discussion items.
Discussion, SBA policy updates. We snuck one in here. So usually I like to do the 3 policy reads. MSBA got with us and recognized that it was a 2021 set D that never got finalized and approved, so we added that in, and it's very short and sweet. So it's really not gonna get a 3rd read if you guys are all okay with that. You'll see it this time and we can vote on it next week. So continue to look at those, and nothing's, so many of them just have to do with small wording, small changes due to legislation updates. So it's just a process that we go through multiple times a year, keep our policies up to date with all the state statutes and laws.
Next discussion item on the agenda is the day after procedure. Randy, I think you're going to ask.
Yes.
for this one.
I'd ask for this again. And again, part of it is, it's personal to me, not because Heather or I was impacted. I can't say that I was impacted by this, because I watched some kids get, I don't want to say victimized, but I think there's a difference in the consequence and punishment. And I feel like the day after is a form of punishment. And I could go back to, I think about circumstances, I won't name names, but kids that missed senior nights, and kids that lived a block from a school and a flat tire, and one sibling comes to school, the other doesn't get to play because they stayed with the car until a parent shows up. I mean, the list is endless of those kinds of things. And and again, I feel really bad because I was activities director when between me and Mac, Coach McGinnis, when he left to go to Bush Springs to implement this, and I think it's so black and white, and doesn't give administrators the opportunity to use common sense sometimes when it comes to those types of things. And I'm very concerned about it, and there's really no way. I mean, there's no way to quantify it without doing like a survey or something, or if we suspended it for a year, because you really don't know. I mean, because I know on one side the argument is we don't have it. You know, as I shared last time, I said it's a solution looking for a problem, and some would argue that, well, we don't have a problem because we have this rule, and I would argue and say we have a problem because we have this rule, and it's tough on kids and tough on parents in difficult circumstances, and I won't go into naming those, but I think I would just like a lot more information. I would like a anonymous survey. Either let's just suspend this thing for a year and see what happens, or I would like an anonymous survey of our coaching staff, an anonymous survey of parents that have either pro or con, positively or negatively impacted by it. I just think, again, after I need to let this go, but it's just I feel so it just hurts me to know that I was a part of something that is being punishment to kids, when I think in a time when kids need all the positives they can, and sports are so positive, activities are so positive. I mean, just a quick background. I mean, when we put this in place, it had nothing to do with school, with the school day. No choir, no band, none of that. It was only athletics, and it's morphed into a complete use of, because I would have never, I'm still shocked that we deny people opportunities for things that they're getting graded for, which that was not the original intent of the policy. But anyway, I could go on and on, but I won't.
Because the hard part about the policy too is that our procedure, I don't know any other school that has this policy. Like, to be at school the day after, I don't know any. And so it's like, why be the only one? I'm not saying that it's a standard you could live to, I get it, but I just think that it's kind of served its course in terms of time. I mean,
we could do that survey of coaches and administration. The coaches know these students, what the impact is. It's a good idea to see what their thought is.
Have we done that already? I mean, is there?
Well, we've done a verbal.
Okay.
I think the administration has asked the coaches, and they tell the administration one thing and then me something else. And that's just why it's difficult. And I get it, it's difficult because when you're in the coaching realm too, it's a difficult position. And sometimes if you've never been impacted by it, but because I could go down that path too, and I'm trying to reel myself in, because when a theoretical circumstance, you're playing a district softball game and a student shows up late, or now it'd be 20 minutes and 3 seconds or whatever late. now that student doesn't get to play. That's not just, yes, it's a consequence to that student. I mean, if you just pick a position, you take one away, you're impacting the entire team. And obviously not in a positive way, in a negative way. And the rest of the team had they did what they were supposed to do. And it's just, there's so many variables to it that just doesn't make sense. I mean, I get, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want us to go back to the early '80s when we had kids showing up fifth hour. And I think now we're better than that. We talk the Panther way. We preach that. Our kids buy into it. Our parents buy into it. Maybe I think there's an expectation. I mean, I think even if we remove the policy, there would probably still be kids show up the next day sick, saying, I thought I had to be here, you know, and because as I said, like Jimmy said, I think it's outlived its time.
And I think Jimmy kind of hit on this. I mean, one thing to point out, especially for the new board members, I mean, this is procedure, not policy. Board governs policy, procedures are set by admins. So, I mean, I think that, you know, there's been enough talk about this. I mean, I think the thing to do, or we could consider doing, is just simply asking Mindy to look into it, consider surveys, and make a judgment as to whether the policy is serving the purpose that we want it to at this point.
Can do.
Any other thoughts?
I kind of want a plan because otherwise I want to put this to bed.
I think a survey is the best way. I think doing a coaching staff survey, I mean, because it's gonna be staff, because there's so many activities and clubs that it all pertains to, so it would be, you know, any of those sponsors. And I think we can survey kids. I don't know about the parents. It's one of those that if you haven't been affected, you don't really know. So that might be hard, but we'll talk about that and decide.
Yeah, because
But-
if I were a parent, I would think that's a great rule, unless I had a kid in the
Until-
senior night or
until-
something, you know. And-
We can do that, get some information, bring it back.
All right, thank you.
Next thing is our admin updates. Who would like to start? I guess we can go in order.
Yeah.
We'll go in order?
They like to go in order.
We'd like to go in order.
I don't know if we like to go in order, but that's the way
We
you
should do
always
snaking next, we'll start in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we had our screenings, and as I thought we would, we are full with 4 on the waiting list. Again, first time this has ever happened. We are, Miss Kelsey's full day class, we're keeping it at 16. 20 was too many for that, so we're trying it out with 16 this year to see how that goes, because it was our first time with a full day. Miss Lynette's classroom, which is our special ed classroom, she has 10 in her AM and 10 in her PM, plus her 2 role models for each, bringing her numbers to 24. Miss Christie and Miss Cheryl both have 16 in the AM and 15 in the PM per our title plan. We have 15 is written in our title plan, but we have 2 students that can only come on Monday, Wednesdays. So instead of making them go up their spot because something happened at home, we're gonna split that, and we found another student to split that spot. And then maybe possibly next year, if this is something that works out for this year and we find that the students still make growth, then that maybe could be something we could consider for one of the title AM classes or something, where we would do Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, just to service more kids that way. So we'll have 102 students. We're encouraging all our families, and there's already 7, I think, on the waiting list for another screening coming up. So our numbers are just keep growing. We encourage our families that don't qualify or that are on the waiting list to come to our family nights and join parents as teachers, activities and play dates, just to get some of the socialization and get some of the stuff. And we do a lot of stuff with fine motor and gross motor and stuff like that for our play groups and stuff like that, just so they have some access. And then we have our annual family fishing night at the school pond this Thursday from 5 to 6:30. Our firefighters come and the policemen come. So if you guys would like to come fish with us at the pond, it's always a lot of fun. We use corn. The firemen like to bring worms, but it's I mean, they will take pictures. The firefighters will be taking pictures so you can catch the smallest fish. I mean, we have some that from last year with the tiniest fish, but the kids have a blast, and it's a lot of fun because a lot of our kids haven't ever had that experience before. So you guys are more welcome to come to that.
I'm going to add to, Mrs. Hampton asked me to share we're handing out
Service.
certificates,
Uh-huh.
and Mrs. Thomas was we went in the classroom to give her a certificate, and she always asked, how long do you think so-and-so's been here? In this case, it was Mrs. Thomas. How long do you think she's been teaching here? And this kid says 20 minutes. I about died. I thought 20 minutes.
You get 400 years.
Yeah,
or-
so
20 minutes.
They
Oh,
got
I
132 years.
I will always remember that, as long as I remember stuff. Yeah. That was awesome.
How are you guys? So from the K2 side, last month I forgot to discuss our enrollment numbers, so I'm just going to update you on those. So kindergarten, we're at 130, first grade 135, and second grade 160, for a total of around 430 kids at the primary. So, and adding the additional 100 over at the ECC spot. So, due to the addition of Career Ladder, we've been able to offer many clubs and tutoring opportunities since the start of the school year. Some of our clubs we have started already: Fit Kid Club, Book Club, STEM Club, Book Buddies. Plus, a lot of our teachers are doing not only one-on-one tutoring, but small group tutoring. So, and as we discussed last year, at the end of the year, our academic data showed tremendous increases due to our teachers' extra time spent with kids outside the contract hours. So just wanted to praise them and remind families that we have those opportunities available to your kids after school. We discussed last month also that we started the NWEA testing, which is that mandated testing that all of our students, kindergarten all the way through, well, third grade, but then of course if they're not at grade levels, some older grades would have to be assessed also. But these students have to take this digital assessment multiple times a year. So of course, at the beginning of the year, we had to give the first assessment. Of course, it's on their Chromebooks, and there's a lot of pre-teaching that we have to do first to get the kids, acclimated with using the Chromebook and how to practice taking this test. So our students did it. For first grade, the majority of their questions were foundational skills, but by second grade, not only did they have to take the foundational skills part, but also an oral reading component where they actually have headphones and read into a microphone, and the computer scores their fluency rate and their accuracy rate, and we found some hiccups, just like you can imagine with kids. Sometimes their speech delays come into effect, but of course there are solutions to that where a teacher can hand score can listen if they understand the student better than the computer understood the student, but of course hand score the assessment if need be. So we do have those data results back. However, we haven't shared them with parents yet. We're still figuring out how to make sure that all the data is accurate. We had to do some additional assessments, our teachers had to, just to make sure we're providing parents the correct information about their student. So we'll provide that information to them at parent-teacher conferences where we can sit down with them, go through the results, and answer those questions back and forth. So pretty soon they'll find out how their students did. And of course, it's just the beginning of the year test, and we're hoping for growth, obviously, as the year goes through. So the test is adaptive. So if a student, depending on how they scored or how they were doing in the test, it either bumped it up a higher level for them or did move it down. So the student shouldn't be at too much frustration during the test because it adapted to their ability level. So, which is one of the reasons we picked NWEA, was because of that reason. So,
Can I add something to that? One, thank you for all the effort that's another, and again, I sound like a broken record, but that's another unfunded mandate by our state legislature. This was not DESE's Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's idea. In fact, they had to scramble to make this happen. I saw I would call it a wave on social media, not so much from here, but things that I look at for Missouri Retired Teachers Association about these types of things. And there were comments like, oh, that's what we need, more testing. I wish the public could be made better aware of what oftentimes their elected officials are doing that they're not in favor of, especially when it comes time to vote. Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
This was a part of Senate Bill 681, so
Yes.
the actual legislation passed down to us. It was a huge, huge omnibus bill, so there's a lot put in that bill, but this was just one of the items that was added to. So I will, as well as Mrs. Rainey, we are planning on reporting to you probably after Christmas. So that would give us more data to report to you, as well as kind of go through and show you some of the test questions that some of our kids get to see, what it looks like. But we felt originally we were going to present tonight, but felt like we only had this amount of information whilst we are still learning. So we'd prefer to give it again in December, get more results, show hopefully some progress and growth from our students. Our kids have multiple opportunities taking the test, which hopefully will help their scores increase also. So we should have more information probably in January or February to you too also. With the NWA testing results, being a Title I funded school, as the primary building and early childhood are, we can offer reading services to our kiddos. Obviously, there's a lot of steps we have to follow with that since it's a federally funded program. But one of the things are testing. Like, we have to give a certain amount of assessments to the students to be able to prove that the students need this pull-out service. So we are using the NWA as one of our testing items, as well as some local assessments. But again, we're done with that since we're done with our assessments, and we were able to service about 13% of our lowest first and second graders in reading who need that extra pull-out support. Those students will be pulled out of their classrooms for 40 minutes every day to be serviced with our reading teachers who are specialized in teaching students how to read. Of course, it's with parent permission, and students who are pulled during that program are not missing anything in their classrooms. Their teachers at that time are doing small reading groups, and those students who are not being pulled back with their reading teacher or with the classroom teacher at that time are either with their reading teacher or working independently at their desk. So it's a great program. Obviously, we've been doing it for years, but just wanted to say another way we were using NWA was to determine what kids need that pull-out service. Also, just kind of wanted to share, we have 2 trainings going on right now that I have a lot of staff members a part of. Of course, we've talked a lot about the Trauma Smart training that all of our staff members are going through, ECC through 5th grade. Currently, right now, I have 2 teachers, Sherry Howard, my counselor, and Lori Hankins, one of my reading teachers, who are becoming Trauma Smart coaches. So they are currently at a training at Crittenton. It's called an academy, Smart Connections Academy, so they can be Trauma Smart coaches for our teams. So just hopefully the impact that they are learning this week, added on to the 20 hours that we're learning as a staff, they can help not only our kids but also families. Like, that's what it's supposed to do, is to kind of, reach outside the school walls. The Trauma Smart training is not only to inform the teachers, but also help our community, all the way from parents as teachers as part of our committee, all the way up through obviously 5th grade for right now, of helping reach out to as many families as we can in our community. So I hope to hear great things from these ladies when they come back and are certified coaches for Trauma Smart. Also, another huge training, and I've mentioned this before in previous reports, I have currently about 20 staff members going through LETRS training. LETRS, this is something DESE is supportive of and something that DESE is actually paying for. But LETRS stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. So this is reteaching our teachers the science of reading. So they are going through, it's a pretty intense program. It's definitely what you consider a college course that our teachers are going through. It is upwards to 100 hours that they are putting in. And of course, they are teaching during the day. So this is 100 hours that they're not being paid for, but with Career Ladder could get some extra a little bit, but of their time, so that they can understand every little inch of what it takes to teach a student how to read. So I just want to applaud these 20 teachers who have volunteered their time to go do this. It's a lot of reading at night, a lot of coursework at night, and of course they do have 4 face-to-face meetings throughout the year, but this is a 2-year commitment also. They're given huge textbooks and a lot of work, and has some case studies and projects they have to complete with it. So just wanted to give a shout out to, if you look at our building, and I have
21 classroom teachers, and I have 20 teachers going through this, your kids are in good hands. So.
Any feedback from what their thoughts are on this?
Well, and I've gone through it myself. I'm one of the 20 also too. It's very impactful. I mean, as a elementary education major going through college, it was, and I know I'm 22 years past, but the amount of reading instruction you received in college was kind of minimal when you are expected to do this huge task of teaching children how to read. So being able to have a refresher, learn those course basics, principles behind, I'm going to use some big terms, but phonemic awareness and phonics, just truly understanding what a student needs to be able to have, to be able to learn how to read. It's been very eye-opening to a lot, and I haven't heard any negative feedback from any of our staff. So the first year is really based on phonics and phonemic awareness, and the second year, which I just started this year, is more on vocabulary and comprehension, that aspect of teaching kids how to read. So I think, I don't want to say how many states, but 30-something states, something like that, have all adopted, their Department of Educations have somewhat adopted the initiative for their staff their teachers to be trained in this. So I think it actually started in Mississippi, but it has spread out to all the other states, how impactful it is to it. So it's not changing our curriculum, it's changing our ways of thinking of how to help students learn how to read. So it's no extra anything that we're having to purchase, nothing that we're having, it's just changing the mindset of our teachers on how to teach students how to read and why children learn how to read. Brain development, the crucial way of kind of looking at the basics of teaching kids how to read. So, and I know the elementary is going through it also. So I just mentioned the primary staff. We also have elementary staff going through their training also. So.
That's awesome.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Okay, I think I am gonna go out of order because I'm gonna talk about elementary and then alt ed since I'm standing up here. No reason to come up here twice. So at the elementary, like Mrs. Euler just shared, we just finished all of our NWEA testing. We too had students that we needed to retest. Mrs. Gasson, our instructional coach, took the time to pull those kids so teachers didn't have to take more time to do that. I personally have done the NWEA testing and been through the reporting and all that in a previous district. It's great information. The information that goes home to parents is phenomenal. It gives parents things that the district should be working on and what they could be working on to help support their student at home. With that being said, we have already started our small group reading instructions and interventions. This is going really well. Mrs. Rainey and myself have been into classrooms to just see those, not necessarily observing, but just to see how it's going, see if we can provide support in any way. Mrs. Gasson has been a huge part of that as well. All of our 2023 MAP spring scores are in, and those were sent home with students on Friday. And last week, I think it was last week, our DARE lesson started with Officer Bob for our 5th grade students, and our 4th grade students began their firefighter safety lessons this week. The fire department comes in weekly on site to teach our 4th graders about emergency safety, and this will continue throughout the school year, and they'll take that end of year field trip that they all love so much. That's it. Do you have any questions about the elementary? Everything's going wonderfully. Alternative ed, we have Edmentum up and running. It has been a huge bonus. We're super excited about that. We have students loaded into 64 different courses, and over 75% of those courses the students are passing with flying colors. They're doing a great job. Our staff has, they've really worked through some of those growing pains as far as, do I stand up and teach, or do I teach individually to each student or a group of students, and they're working through that, and it's working really, really well. We did have a student who has passed. She actually works overnights at Waffle House, or late, I don't know how long they're open, maybe 24 hours, but she works overnights at Waffle House, so when she doesn't have customers in there, she works on her courses at home. So she is catching up and is on track to graduate on time and pass 2 of her courses already. So super excited for her. Our kitchen that we share with the elementary, our students went in, they started cleaning everything, getting everything ready. They are so ready to start cooking because they think that their food is going to be better than school food. I can't wait. I'll let you know how that goes. Project-based learning, our students have started projects and they are super pumped about those. It was funny because one of the kiddos had mentioned about the different standards, and she's like, this is a lot more detailed than I expected it to be. Like, you have to know a lot as a teacher. And so she was excited to pick out which standards were important to her and what projects she was going to do. Mrs. Dent reached out about the den and our students taking a field trip there or her coming in to speak to them. So I thought it would be a great opportunity for our students to go visit the den, and I'll come back with more information on that. But I'm hoping that our kids really use this time and that space as a safe space within the community, because when you ask the students, a lot of them don't have, during our intake meetings, one of the things we ask is, what does this look like within your community? What is a safe space in your community? And they don't really have any space that they mention unless it's a friend's house. So I'm hoping that that's a go-to place for them in the future. Starting Friday at PD, we are going to, Mrs. Altman, who is amazing.
Our state social
Our
worker.
state social worker. I'm so excited about this. She's going to start some de-escalation training with our staff at the alternative building. I think it's a great place for them to start to really kind of help our students. You know, it's definitely looks nothing like the high school. You're welcome to come and visit any day. And every day is different.
Sign.
We do, and it's awesome. It's just a good place for them to start to kind of give some power to the adults, where the students aren't leading the discussions or the trauma that is taking place within the building. So allowing our staff to have that control and know how to help and support our students is really important. Also next week, Friday, during our PD, our teachers are going to be making contact with every single family, letting them know how their students are doing, where they're at. We did not do midterm grades because Edmonton wasn't up and running the first day of school. And it was really important to build those relationships before we started pushing work on these kiddos. So they're going to make phone-to-phone contact with each student's parents and have a conversation, lead it with positives and areas for growth for each of those students. Since we were here, we've added 2 students to Missouri Options. They were transferred, they were both transferred in. One of them was a Missouri Options transfer in, and another one took her tests and is going through the Missouri Options route. We are up to 20 students for Missouri Options, and the referrals are still coming in. So it's going well. Any questions?
What a great opportunity for kids that struggle with school, and it's intriguing how the staff is working with a new model. I mean,
They really are. They really
yeah,
are, and they're
and you
embracing
too.
it.
Thank
They're
you.
embracing it. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you for putting this thing on the ground. It's awesome.
Hey guys.
Howdy.
All right, I always like to start off with activities. Again, I just want to report that our fall activity is going really, really well. If you're having a chance to get out and see football, volleyball, cross country, cheer, any of those, they're doing fantastic. And want to make sure that I recognize all those coaches, sponsors, and kiddos. Our 8th grade band went to Carrollton Band Day on Saturday and received first in parade and overall grand champion. So lots and lots of kiddos affected by that. Lots of parents that contributed to that. So thank you to the sponsors, the kiddos, the parents that helped out with that. But just all in all, just all of our coaches and sponsors just doing a great job staying on top of things and having high expectations and great follow through. From a classroom and curricular information standpoint, it's hard to believe that midterm ended last Friday. So those midterm grades were available to parents last Friday. And we're starting to work through some interventions with kiddos that we're starting to see concerns with, whether it's academically or attendance-wise. So we have some good plans for that. Project Lead the Way update. If you ever come to the middle school every day in the mailroom, it looks like Christmas for Mr. Czar because he gets something every single day and everybody else is jealous. But they've got some really, really cool resources. And if you go down in this classroom, it's amazing seeing those kids in their element and just having that connection with those kids. They started using the VEX robot systems last week and doing coding and building robots. But lots of great opportunities for our kids and just seeing them engage. It's really exciting. Also with our science curriculum update, they're going to be doing some more PD on Friday. But that's going very, very well. At the middle school, we're kind of learning that pacing piece of that since it's all new. But that's getting better and better every day. But I also want to just thank our staff for patience and grace just regarding all of our new programs, initiatives, things like that. I think they're starting to see the benefits of those. I know it was a little rough at times, but I wanted to recognize them for that as well. Celebrations for the building, I want to recognize Tucker Monosmith as our new student council president at the middle school, and Mackenzie Moore is our new vice president, so I look forward to working with those kiddos as part of my principal advisory group for some leadership things within the building and perspective in the building. So congratulations to them. Last time I talked to you guys, I talked to you about we're going to start doing positive referrals with our kids and then some staff shout outs. So I started doing those the last 3 weeks. The positive referrals have been amazing. It's just awesome. We're really trying to build climate and culture where we're celebrating the great kids in our building and the things that our teachers do, and I think it's been really, really good. And then the staff shout outs, what we did, we have kind of an anonymous thing now where they can just recognize one of their staff members, and then our faculty meetings, we go through every one of those and we have a little drawing for some gift cards and things. But just recognizing the great things we have going on in our building, it's been a great addition this year. Our PD focus this Friday, what we're going to work on in the middle school is identifying priority standards. So we are going to actually start building curriculum maps based on the priority standards that DESE has provided. And then once we develop that, what we'll do is we'll look at what quarter we're going to cover those priority standards, what resources we're going to use, and then how we're going to cover that in assessments. And then after that, it's kind of that backward design. We'll take that and we'll look at the data from our map scores and things and see where we stand in each one of those areas and if we need to back off some of it or if we need to add some things. So I've wanted to do that again. We hadn't really done that and really dug into it since before COVID, but I feel like we're at a good spot to do that, and I think our teachers are ready to do that too. And then just a last thing from a safety standpoint update. On Friday, Mrs. Alexander and myself, we're going to do some Strategos training with all of our new staff in the district to just go over some school safety training. If you remember last year, we partnered with Strategos, which is a company outside. Mrs. Alexander and myself were certified this summer to do that, so we will train all of our new staff on Friday. And then also this week, we're going to start doing some site assessments. We were kind of waiting for our construction to end, so that we're going to start going around to different buildings now and just assessing different buildings, different sites, things we can do to make our buildings safer. And I've already started to communicate with the principals about if they have any concerns there, and we can start addressing those. So that's it. Any questions? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Among the many happenings at OGHS, our seniors have already met with Jostens to talk about graduation. As a parent, you know that's information's already coming out. So they've already placed their orders, and they've got their senior swag and pants and hats and sweatshirts and all that good stuff. So, but another piece of the senior picture is scholarships. Never too early to start on scholarships. John T. Belcher Scholarship is one that the board selects. So we have it scheduled to get you that information within the next couple of weeks so that you can look at it and then give us your candidate at the October board meeting, because we have to have that submitted by November. So we'll get that information to you as quickly as possible. It's in the future, I know, but many of you probably saw the article in the Focus on Oak Grove. I reached out to this alumni as a potential speaker for our academic letter that we always do in the spring, and that was Dr. Blaine Baker, 1982 grad who just won an award at William Jewell College and is a professor of physics there. And so he is going to be our speaker at our academic letter in the spring. So we look forward to that. We at the high school reviewed our SOS, Signs of Suicide Prevention Program last week. Many thanks for people who helped with that. Our two counselors, Lori Beth Reynolds and Shannon Mossy. We also had David Foster with our combat grant. That's actually where the program started, so he was there to help. All the other counselors from the buildings in the district, including Tammy, came over to help as well. So shout out to all of them. And then we also had some folks from Burrell Health who came and helped screen kiddos for that. We're doing our makeup session for any of those kids who missed school that day or were otherwise engaged. We're doing that tomorrow afternoon. We've had numerous emergency drills at the high school so far, both high school-wise and district-wide. So I want to say a shout out to Mr. Newman for his leadership and his guidance through those. He's kind of taken that under his wing and making it his own. I've told the staff and the students numerous times that we do our drills to empower people, not to scare people. And so that's the message that we send to parents when we let them know about the drills that are happening as well. Our PD focus on Friday is curriculum. Our teachers are also renewing and refreshing their professional development plans that we had started pre-COVID, and then we kind of put them on hold, and now we're back into them. And then also our units of instruction. And I'll say a shout out to Mr. Huffington for his guidance, because the curriculum that we're writing mirrors the U of I's that we're writing for evaluation purposes as well. So everything that they've done, they just have to move to our NAE information, and it's all already done for them for the most part. We're also in the midst of gathering information for fall EOC testing. Hopefully that information came in today. A little bit up in the air there for a few days, but I think we finally got our information together for the fall EOC testing window. Is much smaller for us than the end of course exams in the spring. But we do have a few, especially seniors, that need to get some EOCs taken care of as graduation requirements. This year we have our College and Career Fair on October 17th. It's a Tuesday. We do that from 9 to 11:30 in the morning. All the college and career reps come to us, and every kid in our building goes through that. They get a certain amount of time to spend on the floor with all of those representatives to start thinking about that process as well. Then we're also in the planning stages for our annual College and Career Readiness Day. This year it's going to be Tuesday the 24th of October. That is our day when we bring certain speakers in to talk to our freshman classes so they can get started. Information from Fort Osage, CTC, Blue Springs, CIC. We have a KC Scholars rep who comes in, and then various other presentations to get to get freshmen start thinking about those kinds of ideas. That's when we give the pre-ACT to our sophomore class. We give the ASVAB to our junior class. And then our seniors, we allow them to do one of three items. They can either take a college or trade program university visit day. They can job shadow on that day, or they can stay at school and take the ASVAB and further develop their skills as far as what vocations fit for them. So that's College Career Readiness Day on the 24th of October. And then, of course, not to go into detail and steal Coach Selke's thunder, but homecoming week this month is October 8th through the 14th. Starts out with homecoming decorations on Sunday and concludes the next Saturday with the homecoming dance. I believe our senior athletes went and surprised our Queen candidates tonight, and so we'll be able to announce our Queen candidates and princesses tomorrow. So, questions for me? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Blink of an eye and fall's about halfway done already. Lots of things going on with activities. All of our sports are doing great this fall. I think everybody's over 500. Our individual cross-country runners are medaling at every meet. So it's been a really great fall right now. We are hosting district volleyball and district softball. So we got those formats set, actually having umpires and officials draft coming up for that. Softball starts the Thursday of homecoming, and then they play Monday, Tuesday the next week, and then volleyball plays Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday the following week as well. So trying to get all of that organized. If volleyball is in the 3-6 or 4-5 game, we will host both on that Tuesday night. With our game being at 7 o'clock, so we can get the softball championship game in earlier. If we are not in those two, we're going to have the host school, the higher seed, host that first round of volleyball. That's one of the things Mission allows us to do. So kind of take that off of our plate so that we can focus on softball championship. But lots more information coming out on that. Starting to gather dates and information for all conference nominations already. So I feel we're going to have lots of representation in all conference honors as well as all district and all state. So those are some things that we have to work through. Lots of work on the backside of that for our coaches. Would like to give a shout out to our coaches with the whole transportation issues that we've had. They've really stepped up and helped me, helped the transportation department. There's been changes on a weekly basis, and you know, they've been driving school vans. Parents have been transporting our players so that we can stay on top of it and not have to cancel lower level games. So I think we've only had to cancel one C-team volleyball game to get those in time. So big shout out to the parents and coaches for stepping up and taking on that role during their seasons. Like Mr. Salmon said, homecoming's coming up soon. We've already had one homecoming meeting, and we'll probably have another one just to follow up, but a lot of stuff going on with that. Senior softball, senior nights tomorrow against Clinton. That'll be after the varsity game. Our home cross country meets this Wednesday, so Coach Shackelford and Coach Adams have been working on getting the courses lined out and painted and getting that ready to go for Wednesday. Shout out to Charles Beatty. He became the all-time leading scorer for soccer last week or 2 weeks ago. So he's got an opportunity to get in the top 10 Missouri State all-time if he continues the way he's going. So he's really great student athlete. And then lastly, obviously, this past Saturday, Carrollton Band Day. I mean, they rocked it again. Probably the best drumline performance I've seen. I mean, everybody came up to me afterwards and said that was awesome. I mean, there was zero doubt that was going to be a first place performance. It was awesome. So Mr. Long and Mrs. Manning and Schnelly, they all do great jobs with the band. They got a couple more band days coming up, but that one was a big one. And we fought the weather. I didn't think there's any possibility we were going to get the field show in because the map had this big red dot coming on us at 7, and then it just split. And everybody got it in. So it worked out good. Glad they got it in. Glad they got to compete. I know that's their big one. So congratulations to those students, parents, the band boosters for doing so much for the kids and our directors. So lots of stuff going on.
Thank you.
I just have a couple short things. I want to thank you guys as board for coming in and going around doing the years of service. It was fun. It was good to see you guys in the buildings, but it was fun harassing the kids, even high school kids. When we asked like Mickey Wheeler how long they thought he'd
40 years.
Yeah, 40 years.
I think he's only 47.
Yeah, right. So that was fun. It was fun to get the kids involved and see, you know, we have a lot of longevity in our district, so it's fun to celebrate that and you guys giving up your time. If you're really interested this weekend or if you feel like you need to this weekend at Lick Skillet Days, I'll be in the Project Grad dunk booth at noon. If anybody wants to, at noon to 1, I'll be in there. I think Laura's there Friday night.
Friday night.
So, anybody
So
else?
don't come.
Are you sheriff? When are you sheriff?
Are you the sheriff? You're the
No.
sheriff at Long on Saturday?
I'm 4 to 5.
Get out a little rescue wet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So that'll be fun. This Friday we're doing a substitute training. One of our surveys from our CSIP kind of just said that our subs felt like they needed some training, so we're listening. So we've invited all of our subs to come in on Friday for 2 hours. We've got some emergency training. They're gonna go over some frontline training with Carrie, which is the software tool that we use to accept jobs or pick up sub days. They're gonna go over teacherese to learn how to use the new system, take attendance, and do those types of things. And then just a brief kind of overview of classroom management, how to address and handle things in the district. So I think it's much needed. We're excited to have them.
Great idea.
Appreciate all of them coming in, the ones that are coming in. It's not mandated, we just offered it up as an option. And then finally, Tom and I met with some engineers to kind of go over and help us start planning some next facility projects. So next month we hope to bring in an RFQ bid process to be able to start that and determining what we want to do, so we know how much we want to do to determine if we want to put a no tax bond increase on the April ballot. So we'll start moving forward with that planning. That's it.
That's it. Early. Okay. Seeing nothing else on the agenda, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you, everybody, for being here.